Good evening. I'm Marilyn Perkins, and I'm with the League of Women Voters of Benton and Franklin counties. Once again, the League is pleased to be partnering with the Tri-City Regional and West Richland and Pasco Chambers of Commerce, the City of Richland TV, the City of Pasco TV, the Tri-City Herald, Charter Communications, and the Associated Students of CBC. Tonight's forum will be replayed on Richland's TV Channel 13 and Charter Channel 3. We will be taking written questions from the audience. There are cards available, and if you do have a question, you can hold it up and a League member will collect it and bring it up to me. We ask that the questions be one that both candidates can ask or answer, and they're not of a personal nature. You can address your question to like both positions or just one of the positions, but both candidates in one position will have the opportunity to answer the same question. We do not allow any audio or video recording without prior permission. And we said that last year, even before things that happened this year. So at this time, please be sure to turn off cell phones, cameras, and any other recording devices. And that will just serve as a little reminder that we don't get interrupted too. The League is a nonpartisan organization who neither supports nor opposes any candidate. It is our goal and the goal of our sponsoring partners to provide an opportunity for voters to become better informed about the people running for office. Today we'll be hearing from the candidates for the Benton County Commissioner, and later in the evening we'll hear about from the state legislature candidates from the 8th District. We have a 2-minute limit for opening statements, and their answers will also be limited to 2 minutes. Closing statements are 1.5 minutes. Do you have a preference? Would you like a 15-second or a 30-second warning? What's less?
30 is good.
I think 30.
30 is good.
Does that sound okay for everybody? So just one 30-second. At this time, I'd like to introduce the candidates for County Commissioner. For District 1, we have Rick Janssens and Jerome Delvin. For District 3, we have James Beaver and Edgar Cusino. And we determined who would go first on opening statements by a coin toss, and we'll start with District 1 candidates, and then we'll move to your opening statement. So we're going to kind of combine your two positions. And we'll begin with Rick Janssens.
Well, good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and the Tri-City Herald and the partners for putting on this forum. My name is Rick Janssens, and I'm running for Benton County Commissioner. I'm running because there are issues in the county that are important to me, my family, and my community. Issues like keeping our community safe, making sure we get the very best value from our tax dollars, and keeping our county a great place to live, work, and raise a family. These issues are very important to me. I will commit my full time and energy, and I'm looking forward to doing this job. Good governance is very difficult. I've been involved in a couple of elected and appointed positions. I'm chair of the school board, Richland School Board right now, and I understand how to work with a board and deliver results. During my 11 years of service on the Richland School Board, I have a record of managing complex budgets and improving services. As board president for the last 4 or 5 years, we've experienced over $9 million in operating budget reductions. I worked with fellow board members in our district leadership to continue to deliver the excellent service our community expects despite these drastic revenue cuts. About a year ago, I also volunteered to serve on the Richland Public Facilities District. I currently serve as the board's vice president. During my short time there, I again worked with fellow board members, worked with community leaders to right-size the Hanford Reach Interpretive Center, reduce operating costs by more than half, and develop a plan that will complete the project by 2014. I've owned and operated a local business in town here for about 14 years. I know how to develop budgets, implement budgets, and live by budgets. I'm proud to be running, and I'm proud to have talked to many of you, and I look forward to the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll now hear from your opponent, Jerome Delvin.
Well, good evening, and thanks to all the organizations for hosting this event, these two last event and this event. For the past 18 years, it's been an honor and a privilege to serve as first as your state representative, and then currently as your state senator. Those 18 years I've spent in Olympia, I worked on a lot of issues for the community within Benton County, the legislative district within Benton County. Those issues is it making sure the DD community is treated fairly by the state government, making sure that their rights are upheld, or the same with the mental health community. Working on water issues so our farmers have water so they can grow their crops, which is a big part of the economy of Benton County. Also working for WSU to make sure that that became a 4-year school so it has affordable education for our youth here in graduating from high school, that they can afford to go to a 4-year college. Energy issues. Energy is big for economic development. We need cheap and reliable sources for energy for economic development. Also working on technology and innovation. We have a zone in Richland, North Richland, a technology innovation zone that the legislature created, making sure that they have the tools and to make sure that that initiative is successful. But also about the community, though, just serving in the community on different nonprofit boards and such. I want to take that experience in Olympia and bring it to the county commissioner level and serve all the citizens effortlessly and tirelessly as I have in the Senate recently, but bring that to the Benton County level and use that experience that I have in Olympia at the county commissioner. So thank you.
Thank you. And we'll move on to the candidates from District 3, which live in a different part of the county. And we will begin with Edgar Cousineau.
Hello, voters of Benton County. My name is Edgar Cousineau, and I'm here because I want to be. This is a democracy, and I'm running against James Beaver. This position, the county commissioner position, is not an appointed position. It's an elected position. And I was thinking about why it's an elected position. Why doesn't the governor or a judge appoint this position? And all I could come up with is I think that it's important that the people in the community can relate to the county commissioner. I was thinking today about how people would talk about somebody having 20 years of an experience. I have over 20 years of experiences that are vast and greatly different, from working as a locomotive engineer to running a small farm to a construction company, working as a vocational counselor, and as a union carpenter. I think the background, my working class background, puts me more at ease and at level with the mentality of the voters of Benton County. I'm here because I want to see our county succeed, continue to succeed, and I want to see opportunities for the citizens within Benton County. I don't know that as a Benton County Commissioner I'm going to be able to solve the world's problems. I actually do know that I will not be able to. But what is important to me is that I will go out there and give it my best shot to help the citizens of Benton County to succeed and have opportunities for their growth. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will finish up hearing from your opponent, James Beaver.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here tonight. And I want to thank the groups for their invitation and support for this program. My name is James Beaver. I'm a citizen of Benton County for the past 40 years. I was transplanted to this community because of construction. There are some people in this audience who are military folks, grew up in a military family. I grew up in a construction family. We're all builders. So my mantra for the last 23 years in politics is I want to build a better community because that's where I come from. The reason we moved to this area was to build reactors. They didn't actually get finished and they never operated, but that's the reason we showed up here. I come from a long line of construction folks. That's what we did, and then we continued to do that until most of those people retired. I spent about a year and a half at Hanford building a nuclear power plant, number 1 and 4 for Whoops. After that year and a half, I decided that maybe college might be a better opportunity. And so I attended Washington State University, got a degree in economics, which means later on tonight I can tell you what's wrong with some of the plans that the presidents want to move forward. But in that regard, we've got our own plans in Benton County, and we're still trying to build a better place. We have done quite a few things in Benton County since I arrived. We did construct an animal control facility to deal with the animal control in the county. We also have moved on with a gang task force, which I'm extremely proud of. And my fellow commissioners stood up beside me and said, you know, we won't stand, and we think public safety is number 1 in Benton County. And so we were able to get into a budget, ask our county administrator to find those dollars without raising taxes. And thanks to Commissioner Leo Bowman and Commissioner Sean Small for their support with that issue, we all stood up and said public safety is number 1 in Benton County. And therefore, we instituted a gang apprehension team, and it's still in the Sheriff's Department today. I will provide the utmost of leadership to this community. I need to stop.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the question and answer portion, and we'll go back to District 1 and begin with Mr. Jansen's. Let's see, we have a lot of questions here. We'll start with this one. Where do you stand on the 0.1% sales tax? And I don't know if that's related to the, okay.
So the 0.1% sales tax is a question concerning mental health. And it's a tax, it's a sales tax that can be implemented in our county to specifically address substance and mental health issues. I support that, and I support that going to the voters as a question for them to determine whether or not they support that tax. But I do support that, and I personally would vote for it because I like the idea of intervention rather than incarceration. There are a lot of issues that different people have. What this 0.1% would allow the county to do is to set up a mental health court, to continue with the drug court, and look for different ways of handling some of the issues we have in our county rather than jailing them, which is a very expensive alternative. What we've seen in other counties around the state, for example, Spokane County, is that this sales tax results in the county spending less on incarceration, so it's a better deal in the long run for the taxpayers. It's also results in less repeat offense by the folks who are involved in these issues. You'd have to have the right people, the right mental health professionals, the right substance abuse professionals, and the right judges to make those decisions. That's certainly something the county commissioner shouldn't do, but providing that venue for that, for those better fixes for folks in our community is a good idea.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Delvin?
When I was a police officer, of course, that's where I got to understand the issues in the mental health community, because we had to deal with persons with mental health issues and got to know their families. And so when I went to the legislature, that's something I worked very hard on. I would too support going to the vote of the people if, for the 0.1% for mental health and substance abuse services, if that's what the voters want. There's also a talk about the 0.3% for criminal justice. You know, that was said this morning, where that question came from. We were at a forum this morning talking about human services, and you know, it's something that we have to be mindful of. And if there's better ways of doing things, and 0.1% is approved by the voters, and we can expand services and keep those persons with mental illness and substance abuse out of the jails, then that's great. That's something we ought to strive for.
Okay, thank you. We have a somewhat related question, and you could maybe, and we'll start with you, Mr. Beaver, quickly comment on whether you would support the 0.1% going to the voters. But this question is, with continued state budget cuts and services for the mentally ill and substance abuse, how does the county plan to approach and ensure that other services, the jails, hospitals, and CRU are not overburdened? Crisis response? Okay.
Correct. So me?
Yes.
Okay, answer to the first question is yes, I would support the 0.1% on the voter ballot. that would not be the only issue that the communities have expressed that they want on the ballot. So the gamut has gone from aquatic centers. Commissioners, you put 0.1% on there. You put 0.3 or 0.3% for law and justice, or you put 1% for something else. And so just so the audience knows, county commissioners are approached quite often on all you have to do is raise taxes, and here's my interest. And so there's a broad spectrum of interests out there that would love for the commissioners to continue to raise taxes and dedicate the money to those resources. Again, if it's voter approved, I have no problem with it. Second part of the question?
Well, with cuts at the state and national level, how can you provide thoughts about substance abuse and mental treatment of mental ill so that the jails, the hospitals, and the CRU aren't overburdened?
We do that through collaboration and cooperation, and we just had a very good example of that here at the chamber meeting. There was a Ruckle House study, and that study looked at our community and the broad level of services that are provided here. And the reason the Ruckle House looked at the system we have is to answer the broader question of consolidation or not. And so there's two more parts to the Ruckle House study that's going to come back to the broader communities about this whole issue. We've spent a lot of time, energy, and money on whether we should consolidate or not. And what the study said and what the individual elaborated at the chamber meeting was, we're actually, we're a pretty good poster child here in our area for cooperation. We get more done as a community with this level of cooperation and the communication that we have, as opposed to other communities that are around us in Spokane's and Seattle's and those kind of things.
Thank you, and we'll finish up with Mr. Cousineau about mental health treatment and substance abuse and the 1% tax.
The 0.1 of 1% tax sounds pretty small, but it adds up when you look at all the sales that are made in our state. I think the important part is that the voters or the residents need to have their input. But what if the input is no? What if the input is, well, we don't want to raise these taxes and we don't care? Well, this is a hard thing. As a vocational counselor, one of the big parts of my job was helping people get back to work. And if they don't have the skills they need because of a physical injury to do a job that they've done before, and they don't have any other skills, we would help them get those skills. When somebody needs mental help, throwing them in prison or throwing them in jail isn't the answer. We need to find ways to get the help people need, even if it's going to come at the cost of doing something unpopular like raising taxes when the voters don't want the taxes raised. We can't turn our backs on people that need our help. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll go back to District 1 candidates, and we'll start with Mr. Delvin. Do you support a consolidated crisis response center? If yes, how would it be funded? The general fund, the 0.1% mental health, sales tax, or other ideas for funding?
It depends on the makeup of that center and how it's funded. I think when that issue has come up in the past with the county, it's been about how do you maintain a building. I mean, if you build a building, then you have to certainly have the resources to keep that funded and maintained. So I think you need the complete picture of the cost associated with that. If that's what the voters decide they want to use a 1/10 and support a 0.1% for that, and they decide as long as it covers the cost. But I think the big thing or the mindful thing is how do you pay for the maintenance? I mean, we see that at the state level a lot when it comes to the four-year institutions. They want buildings, but then, can they pay for those, the maintenance and operation of those buildings? So I'd have to have all that complete information before the county went and built one.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Janssens?
So the short answer for the Consolidated Crisis Response Center is yes, I would support that. The longer version is, however, as I've looked at the Benton County budget, what I'm seeing is decreased revenue from sales tax, and I see us going through a few years of difficult revenue just to supply the services that we currently have. When I've talked with some of the mental health and substance abuse professionals in town, their recommendation is to continue to put money into the services and develop the plan to build the Consolidated Crisis Response Center collaboratively, taking a look at the funding and the maintenance and operation costs to ensure that the building can be maintained. But this is a plan that would have to be developed and implemented. Their main concern and my main concern would be to not impact the services we're delivering, because we are facing some budget difficulties in the next couple of years.
Okay, thank you. We'll give you two, and we'll start with Mr. Cousineau, a slightly different question. What would you suggest could be done to fully fund the Benton Franklin Juvenile Detention Center so that it could operate at full capacity?
I think that when a crime is committed and the penalties are sometimes monetary, I think that the people that commit the crime should have to pay for the funding of the centers in addition to the taxpayers. I think it can be funded just through the channels that are currently being used.
Okay, and Mr. Beaver?
Well, the answer to that question is no, we can't continue to do the things that we're doing in that arena. And what I mean by that is last year, we had a crime sweep here where we arrested some folks that needed to be in the juvenile detention facility. When they arrived, we did not have enough staff to hold those. So what we did was we had early release for some juveniles that were in the facility so that we could take the new ones and put them in there. That didn't work. And so the feedback I got from law enforcement was they weren't too happy about that, neither was the commissioner's office, and I don't mean just myself. Now, I came up with a plan that would indicate that maybe Benton County, because this is a bi-county operation, and sometimes when you're in a partnership, some of the partners don't have any money. And I understand that. So I wanted Benton County to move in and take control or ownership of the facility. We would rent space to our neighboring partner if they didn't have the resources, and then we would fill it back up. It was a simple formula. It was not hard. I am a landowner and I do have rentals, and so I got that part figured out. It was met with non-cooperative statements from our partner who thought that wasn't something they wanted to do. But again, Benton County was in a position to go ahead and fund that particular facility. Our partner was not. That is a bi-county operation, and by contract, once percentages are reached and people take their money back, then we are contractually obligated to take ours back. And so we continue to look at all of those bi-county operations because of that kind of an arrangement. How do we move forward? We renegotiate and change the percentages, or we take ownership of the facility and we rent bed space.
Thank you. And we'll come back to Mr. Jansen's. Agriculture is very important in our area. What role can or should the county play in preserving agricultural lands from development?
Well, what's happened in the last 23 years, this younger version of me moved here, and I married a farmer's daughter who's a fourth-generation farmer here in Tri-Cities, and have learned a lot about ag lands and farming and the business of farming. One of the things that the county is facing is as all of you know, the issue of water, the availability of water. Most of the farmers that I know, and this is kind of new to me because I wasn't a farmer and I'm not a farmer. The land to them is their lifeblood. They rarely sell. They don't want to sell. They like farming, and we need to work with those landowners to protect the land, ensure they have the resources to continue farming. We also need to work with those individuals toward the edge of the urban growth boundary, toward the edge of the municipalities, and help them with their land use decisions also, so that we're not negatively impacting them. The county does play a crucial role in land use, and as in all of the efforts that I've undertaken in my government service, this needs to be collaborative and cooperative with the parties involved.
Thank you. And Mr. Delvin?
The framework that we operate in the state is the Growth Management Act, and that sets out, planning and zoning at the county level and of course in the city level too. So I think, you have to look at your policies, your land use policies, because I know there is issues out there now. I mean, you're going to have development as this area continues to expand and grow. So you're going to have to look at policies that can sustain the ag lands that are on the border of development, so you don't have those conflicts. There's an issue right now with a developer. He doesn't want to use his whole land. He'd still like continue to farm, but apparently that policy has been changed. So now he has to either develop it all or develop none of it. But so you're forcing the landowner to do one thing or the other. And I think you need to have some policies that allows the future growth, and allows the growth right now that the developer would like to do, but still allow that land to be farmed. And so I think you have to look at those land use policies within the framework of the Growth Management Act and act accordingly.
Thank you. And this question will start with Mr. Beaver. It is predicted that in the future, Washington's precipitation will come more in the form of rain than snow. Our area relies on the snowmelt from the east side of the Cascades for much of our irrigation, both agriculturally and domestically. What needs to be done to help ensure adequate water supplies in the future, and what is the county's role in helping to assure that we will have the water we need?
The county's role is to continue to be engaged, and what I mean by that is we have partners that we collectively get together and collaborate, and we lobby state legislature and we lobby the federal government. We need to look at storage, in my opinion, and we looked at it once. That particular project was immensely big and very expensive, and it was called Black Rock, and so it took up a whole bunch of time and money and never came to fruition. I'd like to see us move into the arena of one step at a time, maybe smaller project up and down the water system to do a storage program. Until we get enough storage, we're not going to be able to answer a whole series of questions about environment, fish, arguments with the Indians, the federal government, and a whole host of things that occur. Department of Ecology, Department of Interior, those kind of things. Now, a lot of work's been done. Secretary Salazar was here. We had the governor, we had Maria Cantwell, we had Patty Murray, we had Doc Hastings. So we had the gang here talking about water and what can, the Secretary of Interior said that, we're here. He came to Yakima, we were at a meeting, and so we're making progress. I don't know if we'll end up with Lake Mead. I don't know if we'll end up with Grand Coulee, but I mean, there's got to be some projects in the pipeline that hold the water. And once we have the water held, then we can talk about development. We can talk about the ag business, which is the third leg of the stool here in Benton County. It's billions of dollars that roll down those mountains in trucks and support this community. So it's huge jobs. It's economic driver for this area. So it's the kind of thing we got to do. Commissioners have land use rules, and so we can talk about those. Now we're under the Growth Management Act. I got 2 minutes left. We're under the Growth Management Act, and we got Big Brother makes a lot of dictations to us and talks to us about what we're supposed to be doing.
Okay, and we'll close out this question on water and our need for it in the future with Mr. Cosino.
Water is so exciting to me. My wife always teases me about it because I get so excited about this water all the time. It amazes me the canal systems we've developed on the east side of the state especially. And what's exciting to me about the canal systems is the water is not purified. We're watering lawns and crops with this water, which makes all the sense in the world. I've seen water be pumped from wells to irrigate crops, and it kind of saddens my heart because this is a valuable, valuable resource. I know this isn't really answering the question specifically, but it's a very, very important component of living in the desert. I mean, this is the environment we live in. Water's important here. We have to improve upon the infrastructure of our water. when they started building any of the canals, I'm sure that they didn't say, well, this is a really small deal. I mean, every canal system that was developed in this part of the state was a big deal. And there was financing to back it up. And to this day, we go into our irrigation district sometimes and say, hey, I'm not satisfied with this service, I want out. Well, it's really easy to do that with, say, an electric company. Of course, it means you don't have any electricity. But when you do that with an irrigation company, they say, no, it doesn't work that way, because there was a commitment made to create this entire system. And so you have to follow through with the water to keep up with that commitment. But the amount of people that are living here isn't stagnant. The amount of water is. So we need to improve upon this. Jim mentioned the Black Rock Reservoir, which was an intriguing concept. Something's got to be done, and maybe looking into the Black Rock or another water storage reservoir is what we need to do. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll come back to District 1. Even in these challenging economic times, Benton County continues to grow. How well are our courts and the county jail prepared to meet the needs of a growing population over the next 10 years? And we're starting with Mr. Delvin.
Well, thank you. And then that's a major part of the county budget is the criminal justice system. And looking at the current budget, going through that the last few weeks and months, certainly there's some issues with that. I know some contracts are maybe not being renewed on some of the jail space, so I don't think we need to worry about in the immediate or even the future about space in the jail. So I think we're fine there. I think what the burden is going to be is on the court systems, on the processing of the criminals and what goes on in that courtroom. And so I think we need to be aware of that, but I think this county, the current commissioners have taken a very thoughtful tact on the budget to make sure that it's balanced, but it's also sustainable. They made some good decisions, and so I want to carry that on, but I think we can meet those needs fine.
Okay. Mr. Janssens?
You said courts, not ports, right?
Pardon? Well, yeah. Well, the county jails and our court system in a whole, yeah.
I thought it was ports. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Thought it was
I
a
didn't
strange
hear you
mixture.
right, so yeah. No, it's definitely courts, not ports.
So incarceration is the largest line item in the county budget. And right now, the county jail is downsizing because of the loss of contracts from Department of Corrections, and we were contracting with Olympia to house their prisoners. That loss of contract revenue then means that our overall county revenue goes down, and we have some of the same fixed costs at our jail. Certainly an approach is to downsize the jail, and I believe that's what the current county commission is doing. Another approach is to actively market, actively go out and try to find folks who need that space, offer that space, and generate revenue that way. The short answer, however, over the next 10 years is we have enough jail space. We have more than enough for the needs of our county.
Okay, thank you. And a similar but more open-ended question, and we'll begin with Mr. Cousineau. What problem do you currently see within the county, and how do you propose to solve it?
The criminal justice system is a humongous problem, as the discussion was the largest part of our budget. The reason that people are going into this system is what we need to address, and I believe this is based on economic opportunities. I think people need to have a feeling that they can succeed in their society. If they don't feel this way, they get disgusted and disenfranchised, removed from the situation, and they can't succeed. So I think the way to solve the criminal justice problem we have is by allowing people opportunities to succeed without falling into the trap of the criminal justice system.
Thank you. And Mr. Beaver?
The county commissioner's office needs to work with all of the other elected officials to see how we can modernize the county. When I arrived at the county 4 years ago, I walked into an office in Prosser, went up the stairs to the 3rd floor, and looked at my 386 computer on the desk. Kind of wondered what I was going to do with that, but at any rate, they found a new computer for me and said, we'll get you hooked up to the internet because now most of your information comes from that vehicle. Now, with that said, we've embarked on a program with the other elected officials. We've put quite a bit of money into IT development and work with the other elected officials to see how we can become better. I don't know how to run the auditor's office, but we have an auditor and staff there, and they're elected, and you know, working together, we can help each other. Work with the Sheriff's Department to talk about alternatives to incarceration. I want to talk about the Department of Corrections. Certainly, we're losing those folks with respect to incarcerating them, but it was costing us about $75 a day, and they were paying 61. So, I mean, you know, a lot of this math is pretty easy. So the county was picking up the difference, and so we were housing DOC prisoners, and we were paying for it. You know, we can't do that forever, right along with other counties in the state of Washington. Now, I have to put my hat off to my fellow county commissioners that were there before I arrived. There's 39 counties in the state of Washington, and there's 37 of them that were in trouble in the last biennium. There were only 2 that were not, and Benton County's on the 2 list. And so, hats off to the commissioners that covered that place before I arrived. So we're not in financial trouble. As long as I'm an elected official and a county commissioner, when I was the mayor of the city of Kennewick, when I was a council member for 18 years, I'm not going to put any of us in financial trouble. I won't do it. I don't do it at home. I won't do it at work. That's just how it's going to be. And so we'll work really hard to be efficient and to stop. You have a hard job.
Thank you. I think we have time for a couple more questions, one for each set of candidates. And these are a little more general and deal with the operations of the county commissioners. I will read this one directly. The commission in recent years has had a plague of disharmony. What skills and approaches will you bring to keep our county from reading embarrassing spats in the morning paper? So I guess, and we're going to start with Mr. Jansen's on that one.
All right. And I have read some of those articles over the past couple of decades that I've lived here. What I can say is this: my experience with my family in business and in the community with other elected folks and with community leaders is to work cooperatively with people. I don't say, once words are out of your mouth, you can't take them back, so you have to be careful what you're saying and look at people's hearts. People get into this business because they want to serve and do well for the community. You may have differences on an issue. You work through that issue, whether you agree or disagree, you close ranks, and you move on to the next issue as a team. That's what I've done in business, in the community, and that's what I would do here. The other thing I would say about the county commissioners is I know all of them, and I like all of them. That makes it easier to come to terms, whether you agree on issues or not. You can say, well, we choose to disagree, and we move on. One of the things I like about the community is it's small enough where we know a lot of people. And you know, if you know somebody who knows somebody, you've pretty much touched the whole town that way. We do better working cooperatively. You won't see negative things from me or on that commission while I'm on that commission or any board that I'm involved with, to the best of my ability.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Delvin?
Well, one thing I learned in my first term and second term in the legislature was to be successful, you have to learn how to work with different people with different backgrounds, different opinions, different perspectives. And especially across the aisle, I had to learn to work, and it was all really about respect and how you treat. I was in the majority at that time, and I told myself, okay, I'm going to treat them like I want to be treated when I'm in the minority, because I know someday I'll be in the minority, and sure enough, I'm in the minority. But I've had a real good record of success, because my background, being a law enforcement officer, having to deal with a lot of touchy issues sometimes and difficult issues. But I've learned through leadership and being able to work with people from diverse backgrounds to be successful in Olympia, and that's what I would bring to at the county commission level. I know the other two commissioners, one certainly more than the other, but I'm getting to learn the other commissioner. So I think I would just bring that level of cooperation and work ethic that we can get things done and not be reading about our failures in the Tri-City Herald. Was that from them, that question from them? Well,
I don't know. If you want to try and identify the handwriting. This is a slightly different question. If you are elected, will you ever have your meetings in the Tri-Cities? 8 a.m. is okay. The legislature and some cities have open meetings which are televised. So I guess this goes to the question of accessibility and transparency in government. And we will begin with Mr. Beaver.
The answer to that question is yes, and they will be special meetings, which is the way we address the state law. County commissioners can have special meetings down in the Tri-Cities. They can't hold board meetings in the Tri-Cities. And that's been an argument in this community based around the consolidation question and those kinds of things and the population base being here. I made that argument for 18 years as a Kennewick City Council member and 12 years as the mayor of the largest city in Benton County. So we're still addressing that issue, but again, it would have to be a special meeting. I don't care what time of the day they are. We can hold them on the weekends. I'm not hung up on any of that. But the bottom line is, it's still a state law that you will hold your county commissioner meetings at the county seat. And then it says period.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kusno?
It is a frustrating thing to have to do business all the way up in Prosser. Sometimes you could just have to dial a 1 in front of the number you're dialing, but other times you actually have to drive up to Prosser. And you think to yourself, why don't they just move all this down to the Tri-Cities? Move it right into Kennewick. That's where I live. Get it close to me. That makes all the sense in the world. But then you think about what it is to abandon every place around your county except for Kennewick. Have everybody centered in Kennewick. Prosser has such a neat little quaint spot there where the government makes their community really work. I'm not saying we shouldn't have meetings in Benton or in Kennewick. I think we definitely should. And as Jim said, for the law, they're kind of special meetings. But also understand that there's a reason to spread the wealth out of our county, not just to centralize it in one location.
Okay, thank you. I think we'll move on to our closing statements, and we're going to go back to the District 1 candidates, and we're going to begin with Jerome Delvin.
Well, again, thank the organizations that are hosting us, and want to thank Charter especially, and the City of Richland for taping it so others can view this at a later date. But I think you'll find my opponent and I don't disagree much when it comes to the role of government and our philosophies on government. I think we're really close. So I think the differences is experience and knowledge about the issues that affect the county. We've both worked on a lot of budgets at different varieties, at nonprofits, school boards, the state level, state agencies. But I think the difference that you need to look at is the knowledge and experience level. I mean, I've worked on water issues, transportation issues, land use issues, human services issues for the last 18 years, and I've become, I think, very knowledgeable and experienced in those issues. And I think that is what I think the difference is between, and I'm asking this November that you vote for me to continue on that success at the county commission level. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll remind you that they're only given a minute and a half to convince you that they're the person for this job. So we'll move on to Rick Janssens.
Well, hi, my name is Rick Janssens, and in closing, the issue that I see facing the county that is the largest challenge is the budget decline that I see coming, and we see already in our county budgets. I also see it as our biggest opportunity. As we work through the budget over the next couple of years, we need to take a look at our budget, perform zero-based budgets. In other words, prioritize what we're spending our money on with an eye to delivering services currently that are vital, but also with an eye to the future. How will we best position our county to have the balanced growth and to maintain the quality of life that we all want for our region? That will be a difficult task over the next few years, but very worthwhile. One of the largest reasons I'm running is my youngest daughter just turned 7. And when you talk about planning in the out years, it's kind of well, it's not real until you look in the eyes of your 7-year-old daughter and you realize she's going to inherit what we do. It will be important for our county commission and all of our elected officials to keep that in mind as we move forward. My experience is in developing budgets and implementing budgets and ensuring we deliver services that are critical even during times of declining revenue. I ask for your vote on November 6th, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. And our last 2 candidates, and we will begin with Edgar Cousineau.
Thank you guys again for coming and inviting me to your house for watching this on television. I'm simply a working class individual, citizen of Benton County, and I think that it's important to have a system that people relate to their elected leaders as a working class person. When people spend their entire lives as politicians, there's something wrong with the system. Of course, that's my opinion. I will work for the people and try to serve the public to the best of my ability. I don't know what more else I can really say. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jim Beaver.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. It was rather exciting in the engagement. I appreciate the questions. I'm a lifetime furniture business owner, 38 years on Columbia Drive. I got involved in politics because politics was affecting my company, which was affecting my livelihood. And so, I don't know about lifetime politician. Let's see, I've been a coach, I've been a dad, I've been another coach. I'm a person in this community that believes about this community, and I care about it. That's why I'm still here. I used to go home sometimes and say, you know what, if you knew half the stuff that was going on, you'd be as mad as I am. That's the reality that we're in. We're going to face a lot of issues over the next 5 to 10 years, and we have to get together, and we have to get angry and happy, and we have to talk to our legislators and see about how we're going to solve those collectively. Now, I want to answer I know there's been a question about, well, how do you get the disputes and the arguments that were going on, and you know, that was comical in the paper maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but since I've been out in Prosser and meeting in the Tri-Cities and been a member of this board, I don't see those disputes. I see camaraderie and I see cooperation and I see people trying to solve problems. So that's what I've seen the last 4 years, and that's what I'm going to bring that for the next 4 years. That's just how I am. And if you want to fight, fuss, and argue, then I want everybody to go home, because I don't do that. I want to build a better community. That's my passion. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it here. I'm going to do it whether we're in Columbia Park together, building playgrounds of dreams, or whether we're doing whatever else we're going to do for fun that we do for free. Stop.
Okay. Just so everybody knows who your candidates are, I will introduce them one more time. We have Jerome Delvin and Rick Jansen's running in District 1. And from District 3, we have James Beaver and Edgar Cousineau. And hopefully you can impress all your friends and neighbors by knowing all their names and telling them that you are here tonight and encouraging them to watch this on TV. So I want to thank you all for coming and agreeing to participate.